Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here present today and discuss about one of the major problems now in the farm animal production and well-being, which is heat stress. In this presentation, we will have insights in how feed interventions can support the livestock, especially the birds. I am Sohail Varaste, the Global Product Manager for Nutritional Solutions. Heat stress, as we have heard a lot during the last few years, is becoming one of the major threats for the global well-being for animals and also for the human beings. During the last 22 years, 20 warmest years ever recorded has been noticed. According to European Union, only in 2020, this year was the second warmest year ever since measured from the beginning of the heat stress measurements starting from 1880. However, this is not only about the well-being, but looking at the financial and economical effects of the heat stress is huge. Just as an example, more than $150 billion annually is lost on a global agriculture because of the heat stress. Just in case of US as an example, $128 million per year is lost in a poultry business. These numbers are even more in case of the swine, beef, and dairy cows, exceeding $299 million, $365 million, and $897 million respectively. However, considering that heat stress is such a mysterious problem, which shows many of the signs years later, or even it shows the effects in other symptoms that we do not recognize or link it to the heat stress in clinics, the real financial loss is more than what I just mentioned as an example. In particular, birds and poultry are more susceptible for the heat stress because they are not having a sweating gland. They are selected genetically for the high performance, and therefore they have high metabolic activity, and they are producing lots of internal heat as well as what they experience from the environment. So making the adverse effect of heat stress even more sensible. Normally, they are living in dense populations, and other stress factors such as transportation and vaccination can add to the experience from the heat stress. In clinics, heat stress is majorly recognized by panting, lower feed intake, lower average daily gain, higher FCR, lower egg production, reduced egg shell quality, and depression. However, in order to understand the mechanisms, we have to really look and understand what happens in the molecular level. Free radical generations and damage to the cells and organelles are one of the initial adverse effects of heat stress. Intestinal barrier damage later on causes the penetration of the xenobiotics, pathogens, allergens, and different unwanted agents penetrating into the bloodstream or inner organs. Microbiota imbalance and immune challenge is also another adverse effects of the heat stress, and electrolyte imbalance is one of other adverse effects of heat stress, which comes in the later phases. Looking to the mechanisms, the thermoregulatory mechanisms in the body during the heat stress shifts the blood flow from the visceral organs to the peripheral organs in order to dissipate or exchange the heat with the environment. However, this shift in the blood flow to the peripheral tissues leads to the intestinal hypoxia and the breakdown of intestinal integrity, and also the adverse effects in other visceral tissues with the higher blood flow. If we look more close to the right side of the picture, you see that the two adjacent intestinal epithelial cells, which are having a sealed, let's say, environment in a paracellular joints, they are disrupted, and the xenobiotics microbes and different agents can penetrate through this intestinal epithelium, leading to different immune-related challenges later on. On the other hand, free radical generations, because of the oxidative stress caused by heat stress, generates reactive oxygen species, which are really eager to steal the electrons from the well or normal functioning proteins, structures, membranes, etc., leading to attack of these free radicals to those structures, and even making more and more free radicals, which is not always reversible. Therefore, prevention is a key. These prevention for the heat stress and the adverse effects of heat stress can cover the farm management, and also it can cover the feed additives. So reduced heat production, for instance, in the farm, increase or helping with the removal of the produced heat, increased dietary nutrient levels, reduced concentrations of the stress hormones, and maintaining the cell osmolarity and cell function and reduction of the oxidative stress are the main keys to prevent the heat stress. As I said, farm management is one of the important factors here. And majorly it covers, for example, increasing the air speed in the farm, lowering the stocking density, and reducing the temperature of drinking water and feeding during the low temperatures. However, it's very important to consider that the feed additives and the feed interventions are also a major part of the prevention of the heat stress. And these preventive interventions majorly focus on the antioxidant balance, preserving intestinal integrity, osmolyte balance, electrolyte balance, and water intake. Antioxidants, as I said, are majorly important in preserving the homeostasis during the heat stress. Optimal these actually antioxidants should have certain criteria. Not all the antioxidants work the same way. Optimal distribution is a key. It means that these antioxidants should be able to go through and distribute all over the body in all the lipid structures and water-based structures, because free radicals due to heat stress are distributed all over the body. It should also have the high bioavailability. It means that antioxidants should have the capacity to get digested and also to get uptaken by the body and distributed in the body and stay intact for a certain time of the let's say duration in the body to keep the antioxidant balance. Therefore, these are the important criteria. One of the important examples in this case is the vitamin E. Vitamin E is generally known for years that it has antioxidant capacity, and it is used in the feed formulas as an antioxidant together with other functions that it has. However, looking at this graph as an example shows that after a certain dosage of the vitamin E, the dose effect is not anymore present. It means that by increasing the vitamin E levels above certain levels, we do not see extra antioxidant effects, and the effects are quite saturated, and therefore it's useless to use extra vitamin E levels after certain levels. On the other hand, such structures have also their limitations. For example, in case of vitamin E, because of this long lipophilic tail, this molecule is not able to get dissolved in the water structures. Therefore, it's very important to wisely select what sort of antioxidant we are looking for. For instance, polyphenols, and in particular AOMEX, are especially designed for having the high bioavailability and also strong antioxidant effects. Second important crucial factor is preserving the gut integrity. Gut integrity is very important because, as I mentioned, disruption of intestinal integrity leads to more complex problems later on. So maintaining the cell osmolarity and preventing the intestinal integrity breakdown is the key. As you can see in the immunofluorescence stained epithelial cells, heat stress causes this misarrangement of the intestinal epithelial cells. Therefore, preserving these intestinal epithelial cells with substances such as betaine, which can trigger the well-being formation of the villus structures and keeping the intestinal epithelium dense, helps with reduction of the adverse effects of the heat stress. Last but not least, keeping the electrolyte balance, balancing the blood pH, controlling the stress hormones, and increasing the water intake are another strategies that can be important in preserving and reducing the adverse effects of the heat stress. Once more, I would like to insist that for heat stress, prevention is a key. Please feel free to reach out to our Nutritional Solutions team in case you have questions about the services and the products related to the heat stress in our portfolio. Thank you so much for your attention.